Hi besties, we're here with another tutorial again. If you're new here, please kindly like and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this satin skirt you're seeing on the screen right now. I'm going to be taking you through a step-by-step process. So if this is your vibe, this is something you like, please kindly stay tuned to the end of this video. Thank you so much. So guys, for this tutorial we are going to be using this silk Duchess material. We are going to be using it to cut the silk skirt like I said earlier. So besties, for this tutorial you'll be needing your waist, hip and full length measurements, and for the material you're going to fold your material in bias form. So I used 2 yards of this silk material. If this is your first time sewing a satin skirt, I advise you share that 2 yards of material into 2, which is 1 yard each, and you're going to be cutting the front and the back because the front and the back is actually the same, guys. So about me, initially I just folded mine into 4, but this is going to be your first time. I'll advise you share it into 2 because there are 2 ways to cut the skirts. You share it into 2 and you cut for both the front and for the back separately, so it will be easy for you. So I'm just pinning down the first part of the flare. I folded in bias form. So after pinning it, because this material is really slippery or whatever, or stretchy, I don't know, sorry, slippery, I'll say slippery, but then I folded again, which makes it into 4 like I said. So I just want to do everything together. That's why I said if you can do like mine, you can, or you share your material into 2, 1 yard each, and then you cut. So after I folded, I'm also going to pin down so that it doesn't shift. And now we are going to be taking our waist measurements for the skirt. So I'm going to be taking the waist measurement here. You're just going to place it like so, and you take your waist measurement and you're going to add extra 1 inch for allowance. So this tutorial you don't need much allowance because it's a silk material and it's just a very simple skirt. I was supposed to actually rule a starting line before I place my waist measurement on it, so this is me ruling my starting line first. Now besties, after marking out your waistline, your waist measurements and adding your 1 inch allowance, you proceed to mark your hip line. So I use 10 inches because this person has really wide hips, and just make sure it's accurate. Mark the 10 inches for the hip line, and then on that hip line that you just marked, you are going to place the person's round hip measurement. You are going to divide it by 4. You are going to place it there, and you add 1 inch allowance. Also, you are going to connect from the waistline to that hip line that we just marked out like this. You are going to connect it like so, a straight line. Just mark it down, be careful with it so you don't make a mistake or the material doesn't shift. So this is me trying to confirm again if my measurement is accurate. Always trying to confirm because this material is really stressful and something else. Afterwards, you're going to mark the full length of the skirt. So I think I used about 37 inches for this skirt, 35 for the skirt. It depends on how long you want it to be. If you want it long, if you want it short, if you want it on top of your knees, whichever one is your vibe. So I'm going to be placing my tape on my starting line, and then I mark out the length of this skirt. Guys, you mark out the length of your skirt and we proceed to the next step. So this is it after I marked it out. So you don't want the down to be too flat. So after marking mine out, I added extra 1 inch allowance for the hemming. Normally people weave the hem of the skirt, others just use hemming gum to hold it in place. So whichever one you like to use, it's also your choice. So I'm going to be adding This is me adding the 1-inch allowance also before I fully cut out the satin skirt. So besties, before we proceed to cutting, remember we connected to our waist to our hip line, so I'm going to be extending that length now to the full length of the skirt before we cut it out. We are going to extend that line, and from that our hip line, we're going to extend it downwards and cut out the skirt right away. So guys, this is it. This is me cutting out the satin skirt right now. Always make sure that your fabric is in place, because one mistake and everything is all wrong, because you might have shortage in maybe one piece of the skirt or something. So always make sure. This is the skirt after I cut it out, guys. It's unfold, which is I have the back and the front, because you know the front and the back is the same. So this skirt does not have a band, guys, but we're going to be using a facing for it. You just place your skirt on a small piece of fabric and cut it out. I'm going to cut it out now, and I'm going to be using wideness of about 3 inches because it's a facing, so I'm going to be using wideness of about 3 inches. 3 inches for our facing, guys. So besties, for the interfacing, we're going to be needing 2 for this tutorial. So I went ahead to cut another interfacing, one for one part of the skirt and the other for the back piece of the skirt. We're really going to iron interfacing on this piece of fabrics, and I'll be right back to show you guys how it looks like. This is it after I have ironed interfacing on it, and I went ahead to weave the hem of this material and also the size of my skirt. I went ahead to weave it also. I'm going to be placing it like this, right side facing right side, and I'm going to be stitching with 1/2 inch round this facing, and then I'll flip over. This is it after I made I stitched down with half an inch, and I also went ahead to give it tiny notches. This is it. So you're going to flip it. Like I said, it doesn't have a band, so this is how neat it looks. And I went ahead to give it tiny notches, and I'll flip over. I'm going to give this a very good press so that it lays very, very flat, like so. This is it, guys. I went ahead to give it a very good press. I also used hemming gum to hold it in place, so when I'm sewing, my fabric doesn't shift. So guys, you see how neat it looks. It doesn't have a band, but you can see how neat it looks, guys. We're quickly going to go ahead now to stitch these 2 sides of our skirt together like so. So for the other part of the skirt, make sure to leave about 7 inches before you stitch down, so that you can insert your zip, because this skirt doesn't have an elastic. So guys, this is it. I went ahead to stitch down and also inserted my zipper. I don't have a burgundy color zipper, so I used an invisible black zipper for mine. And now guys, we have officially come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching to this end, and if you like to see more tutorials, please drop a comment, like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.